insurance fraud. And normally one wouldn't judge people by their associates, but there is a stunning and consistent history, and of course he is the president's lawyer and therefore is deserving of even more scrutiny.
This is a guy who has gone through a number of businesses that I think it's fair to say, like the taxi medallion business is like a sketchy business.
The taxi medallion business, I mean, one of the things about a taxi medallion, it's a license to drive a cab, and up until Uber, it was worth so much money.
Gold mine.
Its peak was worth $1 million. And even way back in the early 2000s, he said he had 200 of them. So that's a lot of money. And that's what gave him the ability to, so far as we know, to start buying properties in Trump Tower. And he went from these very sort of poor places in New York City where the businesses are falling apart and shuttered and people don't have locks on their doors, to Fifth Avenue, Park Avenue, in a very short length of time.
Well, this is the thing. He goes, you get a picture today on Twitter of one of his law offices in a taxi garage, basically, right, in Queens, essentially. At a certain point, the way that he runs into Trump, he starts buying up a lot of Trump property. Is that right?
This is what happens. I mean, we don't know how they met. But the first time they were ever publicly linked there was a story in the New York Post. And it was a very unusual story. It was about
a weird story.
Some guy, Michael Cohen, him and his family and his business partners buying up Trump properties all over the place. Soon after that, he goes to work for Trump as executive vice president. This is a guy who had an office in a garage not too many years before that.
And he's buying a lot. Like, he and his family are buying a lot of property and dollar value of condos that are in Trump property.
Quite a bit of property. And I mean, this is the other thing about Michael Cohen is he's worked in these industries: taxi medallions, medical insurance, diamonds, real estate. I mean, we'll just take real estate in particular. The federal government thinks that real estate is a way for people to launder money. This is the stated policy of the U.S. Treasury, is that some 30% of real estate transactions merit scrutiny because of possible money laundering.
So he becomes, now, the role that he plays for Donald Trump is not lawyer, and that's key that it comes through. What is his role?
Right. It's really important to understand this. So Donald Trump had lawyers who did litigation and
tons of them, armies of
legal briefs and did all of these things for him. What Michael Cohen did is he made deals. And one of the things in our podcast is we have tape of him announcing a very early deal, or sort of a middle of his term in Trump world, with Georgia. And he is somebody whose office was in a taxi garage, now standing next to the president of Georgia, announcing a big deal. Well, this deal later collapses amid charges of money laundering and corruption and bank fraud. And again, you have this pattern wherever Michael Cohen goes that these charges are around him. Now, he is not charged.
And I should say that in January 2017, he resigns from the Trump work to become the personal attorney for the president, which is interesting. And I think we're going to see that very relevant to the litigation that keeps going. Andrea Bernstein's great episode. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Still to